For 13 years, I've made a living talking to strangers and then asking them for money. And as a result, I've done 7,680 calls. I've closed close to $40 million in sales, and I've built 3 7-figure businesses. But the biggest thing sales has taught me has nothing to do with selling. It's actually taught me how to get ahead of 99% of people. So here are the 9 lessons that I've learned from sales. Lesson number 1, sales is entrepreneurship without the risk. Most people should not start a business. It's the hardest thing that you'll ever do, unless you have a tolerance for pain, a tolerance for uncertainty, and a tolerance for feeling inadequate every single day. It will break most people. And as an entrepreneur, you have to learn everything at once. That means you have to learn lead generation, nurturing, selling those leads, building a product, managing a team, client retention, finance, operations. You have to learn all of it. And all from scratch. And that also means that your own money is on the line. But for many people, you don't have to start a business to earn like a business owner. The easiest way to do it is by getting into sales. A great salesperson can skip most of the hard work and most of the drudgery that a business owner has to go through. You can manage your own pipeline, you control your own schedule, you have your own deal flow, and you run like an entrepreneur or a business inside of someone else's business. And if you're good, you can make anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 a year, and that's more than most business owners take home after expenses. But making that type of money in sales has nothing to do with being a good salesperson, because the best salespeople that I've ever seen and I've ever met weren't even salespeople. They were just independent thinkers. And once you get this, this becomes an instant unlock for you, both in sales and in life. Lesson number 2 is sales is coaching. So the moment that sales became fun for me was the moment that I stopped trying to sell people and I started coaching people. Every person that you ever interact with in your life is going to come to you with false narratives. They're going to have limiting beliefs about what they're capable of. They're going to have stories that they've been telling themselves over and over again for years on why something wouldn't work or why they are the way that they are. Your job as a human being and as somebody who's an independent thinker is to challenge things that people say, because people don't like to give up on long-held beliefs. It's uncomfortable. And what it does, it fills them with fear. And that's exactly why most people never change. Most people are always living out the beliefs of everybody else, the beliefs that their parents passed down to them, or their friends, or things that they're seeing in the media or society. They've never had somebody sit across for them and say, that's not true, you're wrong, and here's why. Most people have never been challenged by anybody before. And what this does, it helps you give people a new perspective. And when you give people a new perspective, it allows you to earn their trust. And when somebody trusts you, they will buy from you, because people buy from people that they trust. But coaching only works if you actually believe in what you're selling, but also believe in what you're saying. Because most people, when they say things, it's just regurgitated bullshit. It's not really what they believe inside of themselves, which is conviction. Lesson number 3, conviction trumps everything. When I owned my gyms, I needed a studio manager. So I hired a previous client, and she had no sales background and had no training. And what ended up happening was she became one of our top sales reps, not because she had a script that she followed or a framework or some closing tactics. So one day I just sat down with her and just studied and observed what she did. And the way that she sold, it came down to one thing. And that was conviction. She was a product of the product. She was a client. She walked in through our doors as a client. She did the work. She saw her own life change. So when she sits across from a prospect, all she's doing is she's telling them what she knows to be true. That's her pitch, her experience. And so conviction is a belief that is so deep, you don't need tactics to communicate it, because people feel it at their depths. The first time I learned about conviction, I heard it from somebody who said, conviction is for men, confidence is for boys. And when somebody feels your conviction, they want to follow you. Lesson number 4, finding the gap. The reality is nobody likes to be, but everybody wants to move away from pain and get towards desire. The distance between pain and desire, that's the gap. And your job as a human being is to find it, especially if you're selling, and then you want to fill that gap with your product or service. Everyone you talk to is in some sort of current situation, and then they have a desired situation, right? Where they are right now and where they want to be. When I ran my health coaching certification company, the current situation, people would come to us and say, hey, I'm into fitness, I'm into health, but I'm stuck in a job that I don't really care about. And their desired situation was to build a business around their passion, make money, and have freedom. So our product didn't sell the certification. It filled that gap. This person was working a job they did not like, and they wanted to be able to create a business. And so our product filled that gap. Now, the bigger the gap that you see, the bigger the pain. And the bigger the pain, the more open somebody is to buying or taking action. And this will allow you to understand human psychology and be able to sell literally anyone anything. Because what you're doing is you're not pushing a product on someone, you're showing them the bridge and a solution. Drew Eric Whitman wrote a book called Cashvertising, and he identifies that there are 8 desires that are hardwired into every human being. He calls it the life force 8. And those 8 things are survival, food and drink, freedom from fear and pain, sexual companionship, comfort, winning and status, protecting the people you love, and social approval, right? So every gap that you create is usually the core is always tracing back to one of the 8 human desires. But the thing that nobody tells you is that all of this falls apart if fear is running the show. If someone is fearful, they're never going to take action. And majority of people are always fearful because they're in their current situation and they've gotten so used to it, they don't want to take action to change. Lesson number 5, sales will help you overcome your fear. I was one of the most fearful kids you'd ever meet growing up. I was told to speak when you're spoken to. I kept my head down. I stayed quiet. That was my normal. I was afraid. I was afraid to ask out a girl that I liked. I was afraid to take the action. But slowly over time, I became a little bit rebellious. At the age of 7, I subscribed to a Lego magazine. I used to get 2 editions every single month. And after 6 months, I had 12 old copies and I didn't have money for school supplies. So I learned how to get resourceful. So I took the magazines to school and I decided that I was going to sell them for $2 a pop. Now, the reason why I said it was $2 a pop is because I had this kid named Johnny in class. He would bring exactly $2 for lunch. That means that he had enough money to buy. So that Monday, I decided that I'm going to get on the school bus and I'm going to let everybody know, right? Hey, I've got these magazines. Would you like them? They're $2. And before I got to school, I sold every magazine. I made $12 in under 30 minutes and I was 7 years old. And this cemented into my belief. And the lesson here is that I was able to overcome my fear by becoming resourceful, and that became ingrained into my identity till this day. Here's something I want you to sit with. We think we fear death, but the truth is we actually don't fear death. We fear life. We fear being seen and rejected for who we really are. And fear of rejection is just fear of not being good enough. Every time that I picked up the phone and I asked a stranger for money, it's something that I'm doing. I'm training a muscle. And that muscle is of me doing something uncomfortable, doing the uncomfortable thing anyway, of hearing no's and surviving it and getting through it. And the great part is that muscle doesn't just stay in sales. It travels and you're able to use it in every area of your life. If I didn't learn sales, I wouldn't have asked my wife out at the gym. I would have never started the business. I wouldn't be making content right now. Because remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the triumph over it. Which brings me to one of the biggest excuses that I hear from people is that I'm not a natural salesperson. And here's why a lot of that is not true. Lesson number 6, anyone can learn to sell. So you weren't born knowing how to walk. You probably fell down hundreds of times and you probably don't remember. You weren't born speaking English. You learned it, right? Every single word. Everything that you have learned up until this point in your life is something that you have learned. And selling is no different. The number of people who tell me I'm not a natural salesperson is surprising to me every single day. Because the first question that I always ask them when they say that is, how many hours have you actually put into selling? How many hours have you sold? You can walk because you've spent thousands of hours walking. Not because you learned how to walk, not because you're a natural at walking. It's because you practiced until it became automatic. There's a saying that you suck and eventually you suck so less that you get good at it. Sales works the same exact way. Quite frankly, everything in life works the same exact way. So if you keep telling yourself that you can't do something, in reality, everything is something that you can learn. Some people have natural proclivities to it. Some people don't. I didn't have a natural proclivity. You're already selling every single day. That's what most people don't realize. You're selling your wife on which restaurant you want to go to. You're selling your kids on going to bed. You're selling your boss on why you should get a promotion and make more money. But even knowing all of this, most people still don't do it because there's a story that we're told before we were even old enough that pushes us back from wanting to take action. Lesson number 7, wanting to make money is not evil. Growing up in the environment that I grew up in, everybody told me that money is evil. Money leads to sin and good people don't chase it. My dad worked a 9-to-5 his whole entire life and he made enough money to support a family of 5. But he ends up hating people that make money. I think part of that is envy and part of that is his inadequacy of not knowing how. I was different. From an early age, I looked up to my friends' parents who had money. I was drawn to it. When you don't have something, current situation, desired situation, you want more of it. And my whole thesis was I wanted to figure out how they got it. Growing up, that curiosity, I was judged for a lot by my family, by my community. So it got to a point where I eventually changed my environment. I just started surrounding myself with people who make money and people who wanted to make money, who didn't think that it was evil because they're just people who learned a skill and applied it. Because money at the end of the day is just a tool. You use it to buy back your time, to improve your life and the lives of people that you love. The problem is never money. The problem is a story that you tell yourself or the story that you've been passed down from others, right? It is a story. It is a limiting belief that's passed down to you unconsciously. And many of us haven't even questioned it. But even with the right mindset, there's a trap that kills progress faster than anything else. And every human on earth falls into this trap. Lesson number 8 is you can only control yourself. Now, here's the dichotomy that I learned from sales in life. When you're selling, your job is to persuade someone to make a decision. If I could reframe that, is to help them make the right decision for them. But you can't control whether they make that decision or not. But this is actually true for everyone that you interact with in life. Most people never figure this out. They push too hard. They take no's personally. What they end up doing is they try to push their will upon other people. Epictetus wrote about this. Only dwell on the things that you can control. Everything else, you gotta let it go. So what is it that you can control in sales? You can show up prepared. You can ask the right questions. You can find the gap. You can challenge their limiting beliefs. But even in life, you can only control yourself, right? You can't control the decisions of others and you can't control others at all. And the second that you start trying to control the outcome of anything, you lose. You get desperate. People feel it. And desperation kills sales faster than anything. But it also applies to life. Because once you let go of what you can't control, you realize that the last thing holding you back is yourself. Because all you can focus on is the inputs so you can accomplish the outputs. Lesson number 9, be yourself. For the longest time, I was embarrassed to be myself. Growing up, I mimicked everybody around me, the way that they talked, the way that they carried themselves, the way that they sold. I thought that's what you were supposed to do. Find someone successful and copy them. There's actually a term for this. It's called mimetic desire from Rene Girard. Human beings don't know what they want on their own. So we look for other people and we look at other people and want what they want. We become a reflection of everybody around us without even realizing it. And I did this in both sales and in life for years and it never felt right. And my happiness reflected it. I was living and chasing someone else's desire because I could not choose the desire that I had for myself. And the shift that happened for me was when I stopped performing, when I started questioning the things that I wanted to, and I started showing up as myself. No mask, my own identity, being 100% authentic, not embarrassed to speak my truth. And as soon as I did that, my life improved because people could feel that I meant what I was saying, that I was a man of my word. Because at the end of the day, nobody can compete with being you.